Good afternoon, my dear students. Today we have taken the rest of the portions in respiration and also transportation in human beings. So in the previous class we were discussed about what is respiration. It is the breakdown of glucose to release energy, and it just takes place in three pathways. The first pathway is occurs in yeast, that is called as fermentation, and in that the ethanol is produced, and it is takes place without oxygen. That is why it is called as anaerobic respiration. And in some cases in muscle cells, in the lack of oxygen, the lactic acid is produced. So that it is also takes place in the absence of oxygen. That is why it is also anaerobic in nature. But is the common pathway that is occurring in respiration is glucoses get converted to pyruvate, and pyruvate is transformed to carbon dioxide water and releases energy. This takes place in mitochondria, and it is aerobic respiration. Okay, and ATP is produced in the mitochondria by combining ADP with inorganic phosphate. These are the things that we have discussed in our previous class, and we know that the terrestrial organism get oxygen from the atmospheric air. But in the case of aquatic organisms like aquatic plants and aquatic animals, they get oxygen from the dissolved form. The water contains dissolved oxygen, and that is being absorbed by them. Okay, but when compared to atmospheric oxygen, the amount of oxygen present in the water is very low. So that's why the aquatic animals have much higher breathing rate or faster breathing rate than in other terrestrial organisms. And compared to the passage of air, the different organisms will have different organs to breathe, right? So in human beings we have nostrils to breathe, and inside our nostrils there are fine hairs, and also the mucus is present in order to prevent the entry of dust particles and also the unwanted microorganisms. And from the nostril it reaches the throat, and then from the throat it reaches the lungs. The throat contains ring of cartilage to prevent the collapse of air. Okay, and when it reaches the lungs, the passage breaks to different branches, and the branches terminate to terminal balloon-like structures called as alveoli. This alveoli increases the surface area of exchange of gases. Okay, so from this alveoli, the oxygen is diffused into the blood, and in turn from the blood carbon dioxide is diffused into alveoli. That exchange of gases occurs in the alveolar space. And so this diffusion pressure is not sufficient for some higher organism having bigger body size. So in that cases, some extra respiratory pigments are present in their blood. So that respiratory pigments absorb the oxygen. For example, in human beings, hemoglobin is present in blood that helps to absorb oxygen, that have the higher affinity towards oxygen, hence they absorb oxygen very easily. Okay, and the next thing in today's class is transportation in human beings. So the transportation takes place with the help of the fluid connective tissue called blood. And the blood carries different things like nutrients carried by blood, then oxygen, carbon dioxide, all the things are carried and transported throughout our body with the help of blood. And blood contains plasma and formed elements. Plasma is around 55% of blood plasma, and around 45% is blood formed elements. Formed elements include the corpuscles like red blood corpuscles, white blood corpuscles, and platelets. Okay, next thing that we have discussed was the pumping mechanism by heart. We know that the size of heart is just like our fist, and heart having 4 chambers in the case of human beings and mammals. The 4-chambered heart is due to the separation for oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood. We know that the 4-chambered heart contain the atrium, left ventricle, right atrium and right ventricle. The 4 chambers are there. And let's see how the mechanism of pumping occurs with the help of heart. This is the image of heart, and that have 4 chambers: left atrium, left ventricle, right atrium and right ventricle. In first step, blood from the lungs reaches the left atrium, and so that the left atrium will relax. The blood from lungs to the left atrium is carried by pulmonary vein. From the left atrium, it contracts and the blood flows to the left ventricle. So from the left ventricle, the oxygenated blood from the lungs is transported throughout our body with the help of aorta. In the next stage, the deoxygenated blood comes from the body, reaches the right atrium through superior vena cava, and so that the right atrium will relaxes. After that, the right atrium will contract and the blood flows to the right ventricle. So the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle pumps to the lungs for oxygenation. Since the ventricles have to pump blood into various organs, they have thicker muscular walls than the atria do. The separation of the right side and the left side of the heart is useful to keep the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood from mixing. Such a separation allows a highly efficient supply of oxygen to the body, and this is useful in animals that have high energy needs such as birds and mammals, and which constantly use this energy to maintain the body temperature. In animals that do not use the energy for this purpose, the body temperature depends on the temperature in the environment. Such animals like amphibians or many reptiles have 3-chambered hearts and tolerate some mixing of the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood streams. In human beings, we know that double circulation occurs. Why? Because 2 cycles are there for carrying out the oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood. That is why we have a double circulatory system. And the next thing that we have discussed was about blood pressure. Blood pressure is the pressure that is exerted by the blood on the walls of vessels. We know that the arteries carries pure blood and veins carry impure blood. Arteries have higher blood pressure compared to veins. Okay, so we are considering the blood pressure of arteries. The pressure inside the arteries during the ventricular systole or ventricular contraction is called as systolic pressure. And the pressure inside the artery during the relaxation of ventricle, during the ventricular relaxation is called as diastolic pressure. So the pressure is expressed in terms of systolic pressure and diastolic pressure, and in normal cases systolic pressure is about 120 mmHg and diastolic pressure is 80 mmHg. So for a normal human being, the pressure is expressed in 120 bar 80 mmHg. That is the common normal pressure. Okay, and the pressure is measured in terms with the help of an instrument called a sphygmomanometer. And when there is a higher pressure inside the artery, that will lead to a condition of hypertension. Okay, these are the things that we have covered today, and the rest we will take in our next class. Thank you.